There are laws that protect good people that are facing tough financial times, but there's one group of creditors that doesn't have to abide by those laws. And if you owe them, they can keep their hooks in you for the rest of your life.
Joining us now to tell us more about all of this and what you can do is the lady of the law, Felicia Walker. Thanks so much, Felicia, for being here.
Thank you.
So what are we talking about here?
We're talking about the companies that loan students money to go to college. You know, it's part of the American dream. All you have to do is go to college, get a good education, and you'll live happily ever after, you know, that type of thing. The problem is with our economy today, a lot of students are going back to college, or going to college initially, or going back to college to, you know, advance their career opportunities, only to find out when they get out that the value of their college education isn't the same as it used to be, yet the costs to get there are much more expensive. So we're seeing that they're unable to get the job that they dreamed of, or they can get the job but they're making significantly less money than they anticipated, and they're not able to pay back their student loans. The problem with that is normally if you can't pay, you know, your bills, you can't get blood out of a turnip, that type of thing. In the case of student loans, they have more power than pretty much anybody, in my opinion. The IRS, there's statute of limitations on how long they can come against you for back taxes. You can discharge some taxes in bankruptcy, but student loans, it's such a limited, very, very rare instance that you can get rid of student loans in any capacity, which is causing a lot of problems today in our society.
And we've talked a lot about bankruptcy, and that bankruptcy can kind of wipe out a lot of these things. Can that not protect them in this case?
No, they changed the law about 8 years ago now, where student loans are only dischargeable if you can show an undue hardship. And to show an undue hardship is almost an impossibility. One of the cases that I recently came across when I had a client that did have what they considered to be a hardship was a case of a quadriplegic that had a terminal illness and was not able to work any longer. And the court felt like that those circumstances could change, so they didn't grant the hardship because, you know, maybe he wouldn't die, or maybe, you know, there would be a cure for, you know, his paralysis or something like that. So it's really difficult. And in bankruptcy, you can't discharge the debt, but in a Chapter 13, you can help restructure that, stop some of the high interest rates and penalties that accrue, even though you can't get rid of it.
So if you're having a hard time meeting your obligations, especially when it comes to the student loans, the only thing that you can do is to file for bankruptcy, or are there things that you can do before then?
No, you're seeing, we start to see different programs that are popping up, not for private loans, and those are some of the worst ones, but for federally based loans, if you've been subsidized or your loan has been subsidized by the government. They have income-based reduction loans and different variances of that, where your repayment is not based on some arbitrary number, but how much you can afford to pay, so people are able to do that. One of the problems is you can go into forbearance if you can show a certain income. The problem is, and we've seen instances where people have had, I was speaking to a lady before the show, that there was $60,000 in interest accrued in a very, very short time by forbearing the student loan, which it's going to be an impossibility to pay that back. So there are some income-based reductions, or a Chapter 13, you can forbear it without those penalties and interest accruing, so that you can take care of your other financial problems. Hopefully the economy will turn, you'll get a better job, and then be able to deal with your student loans later without them garnishing your wages and things that they have a lot of power to do forever.
What would you say is the most important thing that somebody that has a student loan right now that they should start focusing on right now?
Well, I think the most important thing is, again, not to do nothing. A lot of people, they don't want to file a Chapter 13 because they don't want to have to be in a repayment plan for 3 to 5 years. And I was reading a book this weekend in my spare time that was speaking of that a lot of people don't do something because of how much time it takes. And the author's point was that that time is going to pass whether you do something about it or not. And so that's the point, is to get help now and find out what your options are, find out what the federal programs are, find out what kind of loan you even have, because most people don't know. They don't know if it's subsidized, unsubsidized. They're looking at the screen like, what are you talking about? It's just a loan, I have to pay it. So the most important thing is to speak with counsel or competent professional in that area to find out what options are available, and then to make sure that the company that you're working with does that according to the law, which is a big problem as well.
And they can, if they have any questions, they can sit down and get a free consultation with you guys.
Absolutely.
And you can look at everything and say, okay, well, based on what you've provided me, here's your situation, and then they can decide whether to move forward or not.
Yes, absolutely. We do offer free consultations for that type of thing, and we can analyze your situation, find out what kind of loan you are, give advice what you need to do, or options that we can help you with as well.
Felicia, as always, thank you so much for enlightening us. Absolutely. We want to thank for the advice, obviously, and Emery, Kast, and Walker for sponsoring this segment.
Yeah, and remember, they always say the biggest mistake that you can make when you're facing any sort of financial hardship is to do nothing. The legal team of Emery, Kast, and Walker, they say they understand what you're going through and they're here to help good people in bad times. Their website, www.jackslawyer.com, or call them 904-404-3394 for that free consultation to find solutions to your problems.